Hi, I'm Corolla, and on Instagram I'm at From Corolla. In this video I'm going to show you how to fill empty wick pens from Kuretake Karappo as well as Teranishi Guitar using fountain pen ink. I'll give you some tips and also talk about some of the pros and cons of using these empty wick pens. And then I'll give you a little bit of a handwriting sample at the end to show you what these pens look like. Depending on where you pick up the pens, the Kuretake can come individually or you can get a set of 5, and they come with the empty wicks as well as everything you need to fill it up and set it up. The guitar empty wick pens also come in a set, and I don't know if you can get them individually. And the fountain pen inks I'm using are the Ferris wheel press writing desk and the Monteverde chocolate pudding sample. And I use an eyedropper to suction some of the ink and put it into a vial. Some of the sets may also include little suctions that are helpful. And these little inky dips that hold the ink that you can put the wicks in. A tweezer and a paper towel will save you from getting some of the ink on your hands. So I'm going to start with a Kuretake Karappo empty wick pen first, and I'm using the Ferris wheel press writing desk ink, which is a really nice shade of brown black. And I watched an official Kuretake video on how to fill it up, so hopefully I'm not steering you wrong. So I'll use an eyedropper to get some of the ink out of the bottle directly and put it into this little vial, which will then help to for the wick to absorb the ink directly from the little vial. So I don't fill the vial up all the way to the top. I just kind of guess how much the wick will absorb, and you can always add more if you need to. And now I take the wick with my tweezer and I fill it up to about 80%. So I put it into the vial and let it absorb to about 80% to the top. And that way you don't let it fill all the way to the top, because that prevents the ink from leaking when you put it into the pen. So here I notice that the wick has absorbed the ink that I had put in the vial. So that's cool. I just add a little bit more ink and let it soak up a little bit more. And if you need more ink, just keep adding a little bit more ink at a time. So now it's pretty much absorbed, and there's a little bit at the top that's not filled with ink, which will help prevent some leaking of the ink in the pen. And then I just put it on the paper towel and roll it a few times to absorb any ink that's left on the other side of the wick, on the outside of the wick. And then I put it into the pen. The pen comes with this little end cap, so I just push that in, make sure it's all the way in, and that will push the wick down and start to engage the tip. And you'll start to see the tip absorb that ink and turn colors, and that's when you know that it's ready to be used. So while we wait for the Kuretake to absorb the ink, we'll set up the guitar fine liner. And in this set, you'll get an empty wick plus this little suction thing to get ink out of the bottle if you need to, as well as an end cap that will fit after we add the wick to the pen. So for this pen, I'm using the Monteverde chocolate pudding ink sample vial that I got from Goulet Pens. So I have my guitar empty wick ready to go, and I have my Monteverde chocolate pudding ink, and I keep it in this little wooden block just so that I don't have any accidents in spilling the ink. And using a tweezer, I just pick up the wick and put it into the sample vial. And again, similar to the Kuretake, I just make sure that it fills about 80% to the top, so that once you take it out of the ink, it will keep absorbing, and you don't want it to overfill with ink just in case it leaks in the pen. Okay, so that's absorbed close to the top, and similar to the previous pen, I roll it in the paper towel just to absorb any ink that's on the outside of the wick, and then I place it into the empty pen case. And then you put the end cap on, which you can see pushes down the wick, and it engages the pen tip. So I let the pens sit vertically for a few minutes before trying to write with them. I only got a little bit of ink on my fingers, so the tweezers did help a lot. I'm using the Rhodia lined notebook, which is fountain pen friendly, and I'm going to try the Kuretake Karappo first, which I filled with the Ferris wheel press writing desk ink. So I find that this tip is actually pretty flexible. It reminds me of a hard tip brush pen, but it's also a fine liner, so depending on how hard or gentle you press down on the tip, you can get different size strokes, which is really nice. And so I do enjoy writing with this pen. So the pro to these pens are that you can use your favorite fountain pen ink, and if you travel, it's easy to have it on you, whereas a fountain pen might leak. But the con to these empty wick pens is that they are disposable, and I'm not sure if there is a way that you can refill them. Maybe you can with the same fountain pen, but I don't think you could take the wick out and rinse it out and reuse it with a different ink. So with the guitar pen, I use the Monteverde chocolate pudding ink, and even though I let it sit for over 5 minutes, I found that the tip hadn't fully absorbed the ink yet, and so I'm hoping that letting it sit for 24 hours or so will allow the tip to absorb more of the ink. I tried writing with it anyway, and I found it pretty scratchy, so I could tell that it wasn't full of the ink. But I just want to show you how it looks after letting it sit for about 5 minutes to absorb it. And it could just be this specific pen that didn't work as well. But I ended up using a different guitar wick pen that I had filled with a different type of ink, just to show you what it would look like if the ink had fully absorbed. The tip of the guitar pen is a 0.3, so it's actually pretty thin, which I kind of like. But yes, you can see that it's a fine line. I hope this video was helpful in showing you how to fill up empty wick pens using fountain pen inks and the different types that you can get. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Carola, and on Instagram I'm @FromCarola. I'll see you in another video. Bye!